Oh yeah, are you talking to me? Well, what is that? Yeah, this is a vlog about how the cell phone zombies were victimizing me when I had a cell phone, and even now that I don't have a cell phone. So because of you guys, whose attention span gets worse every year, I gave up cell phone more than 4 years ago. I just use one for videos and pictures, documenting the science of studying the human condition and how it's failing. Um, in the last 2 weeks, I would say there's two or three employers who send me back an email from an application, say, hey, I don't see your phone number on the application. How can I call you? So my response is, well, you can contact me through Skype, and here's the information, or send me a Zoom link at this email address. And I often say, well, I'm having a hard time communicating with you through Indeed, because Indeed is getting worse, and they're just trying to micromanage everything, and it's failing. But then I don't hear from them again, so they lost me. And that's one of the ways I screen out employers, right? If they can't bother doing that. And one of the reasons I gave up cell phones was, well, I didn't have really a need for that expense, because I didn't really have a lot of people to talk to on the phone when I closed my driving school. But also, I was being victimized in many ways by the cost of it. For example, like going to Uganda, I noticed how much cheaper it is for the same service, and also France is cheaper. There's a lot of ways that we are being victimized, and because you guys are quite happy to be victimized, the science of being a Canadian is even when I stopped, and it's not good for the brain. There's a lot of ways that it's just bad for you. There's a lot of reasons, okay? And because I'm an efficient communicator, I really just need one thing. I don't need to, connect to everything and subscribe to every app. I just need to stick to one thing. So, of course, instead of cell phones, if I have a laptop, I just go with using the internet to do all sorts of things, including live conversations. But I'm somebody that can actually set an appointment and show up without needing me to send a confirmation to, a dentist that I'm going to show up, as if their time is more valuable than mine. So I can do that. I have these are living skills, actually. They're not even life skills, just to actually keep an appointment. I would say it's more living skills, even people with disabilities can do this. But I just wanted to stick to one thing and do it efficiently. So it's one of the ways that I screen out employers. So if this employer can't follow up in this way, or can't say, well, I use Messenger instead, well, I'm not going to use WhatsApp or new things like this, or things that are dominant in other countries. And I'm not going to keep Zoom in my computer. I'm going to uninstall it after. And Skype, I only sign on. I've also uninstalled it from my computer, because these things cause issues that I've noticed. So I'll use it and then get rid of it. But you have to make an appointment by the email. Now, that's not hard for me. But if it's hard for employers, then, I can tell we're not a good fit, right? If for them to get a skilled candidate, which they have a hard time finding, and they won't go the extra step, because they'll say, well, I don't have time for this. Well, if you don't have time to get a good candidate that, if you treat well, sticks with you a long time and saves you the time from keep calling people, as if the phone is more efficient than also getting the nonverbal communication of somebody that you can also look in their eyes, see their facial expression, then yeah, we're not a good fit, and you're going to continue to fail at what you do as an employer. So, do you want to hire me as a culture repair, or do you want to hire me in this role that I applied for? So it's pretty simple. But I mean, because you guys are still kind of doing this, and there's a lot of things in Canada that are barriers, or that victimize me for not having a phone. And first of all, I couldn't even afford. But even if I could, based on Canadian rates, I would feel victimized, and it would not be necessary. Now again, and if an employer says, well, you need a phone for this job, I own phones. If you want to pay for it or provide your own, that's fine. I know how to use a phone. I know how to use more than a phone. I know how to communicate properly with a phone. I know how to use apps properly with a phone. I know how to use GPS, but I don't want to use GPS. I know how to, send messages efficiently using a phone, if not a laptop. But why would I do that if it's not required, right? For example, if an employer doesn't trust that I'm going to show up for my shifts and doesn't know how to communicate with me based on something in the long term like time off or things like that, and doesn't believe I'm going to follow up with an email, which for me is more efficient than a phone call where somebody doesn't even take notes, there's no record of it, and then you got to remind them of stuff because they're barely paying attention, they're multitasking on phone. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to participate in being a culture breaker by doing this. Now, I'm victimized for not having a phone because you guys continue to disease yourself with these and believe that there's something wrong with me, when really you don't have the skill sets to communicate, to make appointments, make agreements, keep them, to work your memory so you don't get dementia at like 30 years old. So it's up to you guys what you want to do. But, for me, I would prefer being without work than working for the wrong employer. So a lot of these things for me is also screening. It screens the people that don't appreciate me and that didn't read my resume. And even if I send a dumbass resume, it's still efficiently done. They must know that this is still above average for these dumbass resumes. And to treat me as if I am just somebody that needs to fill a slot somewhere, and that they won't take the extra minute to actually do something that they are capable of doing, but it deviates from the norm of how they recruit people, then we're not a good fit for each other. I promise quality on my resumes, and you probably believe that's who you are, but I can demonstrate it and you can't. So yeah, you're not gonna hire me.